So this is cup 124. And at 124, I think that it's time for me to start charging some money for these cups. So they're gonna be $1 a cup for about 10 minutes. The cup isn't 10 minutes, it's actually 20 minutes, but this is the base cup. Just $1 a cup. I think that's very reasonable, $20 a month, that's fine. But there's more. I mean, if you want the whole thing, it'll be $4 a cup. Because, you know, I talk a lot and there's a lot of stuff going on here. And, you know, I feel like that's very, very fair. $4 a cup for that kind of thing. And actually, if you want to spend like $7 a cup, you'll get your name at the end of this. Some little bit bonus stuff for you guys. Or you can just sign up for my membership and spend $20 a month, which is the cost of the $1 cup. And you get all my cups, you get all of my live streams, you get every single piece of content that I make, and there's never ever going to be a question. Anything coming out to the future, you get all of it. This is Ubisoft. That is precisely the logic behind Ubisoft. They take something that we've had for a long time, video games, and they start to charge more and more money for video games in the name of we need to make ends meet, video games cost more money, this, that, and the other. And then they do something which makes sense, right? Video games cost more, inflation, whatever, that's fine, that's totally okay. We're not gonna talk about the different things that they put in their games. We're not gonna talk about any sort of political agenda that may exist in the games, it's very clear. We're not talking about any of that. But they take the very thing that we've had for decades, well established for a long time, and say, hey, it's gonna be X amount of dollars for the base and so much more for the premium, which just years ago was literally the whole game. I understand what you're saying. You're thinking to yourself, I get it. You're thinking, dude, it's not the same because these games have so much content. The DLC is so powerful and there's so much extra stuff. I mean, look, for instance, at Borderlands, not made by Ubisoft. There's so much content, hundreds of hours of content, stories, backstories, weapons, all of this stuff. You're gonna sit here and tell me that the problem with gaming is the same that you would say that about Borderlands? And I would say, not necessarily, but I have a huge problem with Ubisoft's new structure and the gaming structure that we've seen over the past few years, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. In fact, it only seems to be getting worse, especially with the introduction of all these different subscription services. The subscription model itself, love that sound. That was awesome. The subscription model itself is the biggest issue that we see here in gaming. And the reason why I say that is because with all of the different stuff that gets introduced with the subscription model is the lack of ownership. Now, my example wasn't perfect because there's no ownership over my videos. They're my videos, it's content for you. But if we're being honest, if we're talking about digital ownership, it's very, very similar. You don't own anything. In fact, we see this. We saw this with Helldivers, the very game that people who purchased it played hundreds of hours of that game, went and lost access to that game because they didn't want to give over some of their more personal information. That is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that even what is yours, technically on paper yours, is not yours unless you can hold it. And even that statement isn't fully true with all of the stuff with updates and stuff like that. Now back to the Ubisoft situation that I think is very, very sobering and needs to be thought about from all gamers. One, you don't have to be into the games that they're releasing, but the first thing that we saw was their pricing structure for Star Wars Outlaws, starting with the base game. The problem that we see with the pricing structure is that $70 for an entry-level base game, a stripped-away game, which was the all-done game price for brand new AAA titles. And I know, stuff costs more, sure, that's not what I'm getting at. But we see the base level, okay? $70. Adding additional cosmetics and some DLC, and this is where it gets unbelievably nefarious. The premium tier doesn't just offer premium stuff like skins and different things like that. It offers content. Let's take Kingdom Hearts, for example. Back Kingdom Hearts 1, one of my favorite games of all time. An incredible game, and if you've never played it, highly recommend. I'm going to spoil the first hour. Let's say that you start the game. Well, it's probably like the first 2 hours. You start the game and you do your, the Destiny Island stuff. And then you get to Traverse Town. And while you're in Traverse Town, you do all the stuff you need to do and you go to your first world, which can be either the Tarzan Jungle or, I think it's called the Treehouse, or the Colosseum. The Colosseum, you have a little side quest where you have to help Hercules because there's some stuff happening with Hades. You do that. You're good to go. You're done. And you move through to the next worlds. And then you can come back and run the Colosseum. The Colosseum is a replayable area that you can do different challenges in. And those challenges will yield different items, and those items will help you along the way. What if, I think it was Enix, maybe Squaresoft and Enix at the time, maybe it was Square Enix. Either way, it doesn't really matter. What if they said, well, we're not going to do the Colosseum part. If you want to come back to the Colosseum and get all those extra things, that's going to be the Gladiator bundle. And in that Gladiator bundle, as part of the season pass, you're going to be able to craft new Keyblade items with the different things you get from going through the Colosseum. What if that's the way they went about it? That would be ridiculous. 3, we're going green. Envy, green. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pour off this. This had coffee in it. I'm going to rinse that out. It would be ridiculous. You'd think to yourself, this is silly. And the whole game itself, very much so, was very complete. It felt very complete. In fact, going back to the Colosseum and doing all those challenges was just a part of the game. What's happening now is we're not getting additional content. Okay, here's the moment of truth. Can I pour this? I got a little bit of spillage. Just a little bit. Do I have any sort of... I have no way to clean this up. So we're just going to spread it out. Oh boy. Let me see if I can get something. All right. Got it. Okay, purple. Great. Everything's purple here. That'd been ridiculous. You would have been like, the game was complete. So then, now, fast forward to right now. We have this exact situation happening. I don't think that these companies are giving us any extra, as I was saying. I think instead what they're giving us is less and less and less in charging us for this extra, which in some cases should be done. We should have this by now. Now, I was just speaking into the Jedi Outcast, not Jedi Outcast, I keep saying Jedi Outcast, the Star Wars Outlaws situation. What really blew my lid on this, what really sent me over the edge and made me want to make this specific cup, was when they introduced the new Assassin's Creed. Without getting into much of the other stuff, the first thing is the new Assassin's Creed is going to have the very same pricing structure, where it has 70 for the base, and then I think it's 109 and then 130. First off, 70 to 109 is $40. $40. That's insanity. That's insane. That's not the point. They charge $130 for the next game. But again, you can spend $17.99, not own it, but get all premium content through Ubisoft Premium. This allows you to subscribe to their service, get the game as a service, well, not really as a service, but you get what I'm saying, through their service, and have access to all premium content. How incredible, how gracious of Ubisoft to make a subscription that isn't giving you the base game, but instead the premium game. They're the first of their kind to give you the premium. Whereas all the other companies, they give you the base. In all DLC, you have to pay for. You have to pay for the Constellation Edition of Starfield or whatever. You have to pay for these games. But not Ubisoft. Ubisoft bundles the premium content in. Do they? Or is just the content they give you an emaciated skeletor of a game, and the premium content is the tissue that belongs on the body? That's really what I'm wondering. These games that are releasing, and the reason why I say it this way is because Assassin's Creed will give you early access to the game, a completely asinine perk. get early access to the game. That's not early access. Base price, base game is the late access. The actual release of the game isn't early access. You get 3 days early access. That's not early access. The game should be out then. It makes you feel special because you get extra time in the game. Ridiculous. I've always thought early access was so ridiculous. 2-week early access. Maybe if it's a beta build or something along those lines, but 3-day early access. And then behind the premium tier is game content day one. Not additional, though it does have additional, but more of the game itself. Which means that the base tier is an incomplete, late publishing game at the price, the egregious price, of $70. And if you want to play the actual full game, additional content included, I guess, you have to spend almost double, $10 shy of double the price, or give them your information and subscribe to their service, which I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, well, dude, it's just $18. It's cheap, dude. I'm going to do $18 and then I'm going to play the game for a month, beat it, and then, screw them. Cool. Fine. What you're doing isn't saying screw them. What you're doing is proving the point. The point, unfortunately, is this. Companies are turning to the subscription model for multiple reasons. One, with a subscription model, they are not required, especially because of how long it takes for games to come out. They are not required, or they owe you nothing. There's no return policy. There's no, I want my money back, the game wasn't good. There's no, this game's broken, this sucks, I need to return it. No, the money is in their pockets. Another thing, pricing structures are insane. $70 for a base level incomplete late publishing game is the new standard. This kind of behavior we're seeing across the board. This kind of treatment to games is also ridiculous because they're not just, this is the part that is so frustrating. They're not just releasing games incomplete, but they're intentionally taking aspects of the game that would have been included just years ago. And I have to go that far back because this is something that's been happening over and over again. But they're intentionally taking parts of the game that deserve to be there, that were very, very essential in games prior, and saying this is DLC. Not just DLC as in season pass additional content, but hear me when I say this. Day one DLC. The heck is that, dude? This is disgusting. And Ubisoft is at the front of this right now because they are in the headlines, but they're not the only ones guilty of this kind of content. We see the subscription model across the board becoming more and more of the standard, with EA Play, similar. They don't give you your premium content though. With all of these types of services, Ubisoft, EA, we see this with Game Pass Ultimate. They are putting their games and they're saying as perks that Game Pass Ultimate, day one, you'll get one of our first party titles. And what a lot of people are saying is like, well, it's incredible value. $15, $18 a month, if whatever it may be. Well, as time goes on, if you are a multi-console user, right, which a lot of people who subscribe are, if you're a multi-console user, a few things take place. With Xbox, unless you are a game, one of the live service games, you're spending $10 a month minimum on Xbox and $10 additionally minimum on PlayStation because they charge for their online service. And then if you own a Nintendo Switch, then you're spending like $4 or $30 for the year. It's so small for their online access if you play online games. So that's first thing. But that doesn't include these additional services with these games. You want to play these games? Well, you need to spend more money. And so the likelihood of someone just spending $10 a month for the service, like what it used to be, Xbox Live Gold, which was $10 a month. Well, you could actually buy it for $60 for the year. But this kind of thing has started to fade away, fade into memory. And we're starting to see higher and higher price hikes. So what are we to do? We sit here looking at this problem, this mountain, this subscription model, game ruining, franchise destroying, disgusting business practice. How are we as gamers supposed to do this thing? Star Wars, a beloved franchise that was gatekept by EA for a while, and now Ubisoft gets their hands on it, and here we go. Assassin's Creed, another beloved franchise. How do we reconcile this? And I think that honestly, the answer is oddly enough, looking back. I think that 2024 is shaping up to be one of the years where we as gamers can have a really big influence on how the industry moves forward. I think as a industry, we're seeing what happens when we kind of line up to some of these services and just mindlessly shell out 15, 18, 20 bucks a service. If you bundle all of these services together, you're spending probably close to $70 a month, which ends up being the price of a brand spanking new game each month. And Lord knows that we're not getting $70 worthy games every month anyway. Chances are you're not completely finishing the games that you purchase, and I know that I personally am in that same boat. And so, as I've said before, 2024 is dedicated to the library, and I suggest maybe you look into it that way too. But looking back, just recently I decided to go through all of the Final Fantasy games. I've mentioned that a couple times before, and you can join us 7 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday on Twitch, JDX Coffee, to watch that, join in, hang out with the family. And I'm doing that 100%, not 100% games, but exclusively, for the time being, on the Steam Deck. There's only one game that I cannot play on the Steam Deck because it is not yet on PC or Steam, but hopefully by the time I get to it, it will be, and that is Final Fantasy 16. The reason why I'm doing this is because I believe strongly in the idea of ownership. And I know, physical versus digital, it's its own conversation, and Steam's all digital. But as I've mentioned multiple cups back and multiple cups over and over again, if we're going all digital, I want Steam to be the one managing those purchases, not Sony, not Microsoft, and I certainly do not want to subscribe to game services that do egregious things like charge $18 a month for premium stuff that should be in the game already. I want to own this stuff. I want these digital purchases to be with me for years and years to come, and for me to share with my children, and for me to share with my wife if she wants to play a game. That's what I want. So far, the only, and I say this, the only game management library that can do this well is Steam. They're not the only ones that manage libraries. Epic does it, but come on. Sure, Epic has Kingdom Hearts. I wish Steam did, but maybe. Boy can dream. I have Kingdom Hearts on the PlayStation anyway already, so I just used the portal to do so. But again, I digress. I trust that process. I have been using the Steam Deck for such a long time, and as this debauchery takes place, as this grotesque, such asinine behavior by these companies takes place, I am even more excited, and I'm thrilled to be using my Steam Deck more and more with the library that I've built. Because with the Steam Deck, I get to break free of any of those disgusting tactics. I get to own games. I get to play games on my Steam Deck anywhere I want at any point. I don't have to pay for online services. And I know you can say, well, you can do that on the PC and you can do that on the other handhelds, sure. But I'm using my gear that I have and I'm excited about. This isn't unique to Steam Deck. It's just PC in general. But as these companies, which you could do, I mean, Ubisoft Plus, still for games on PC. As this goes on, I think the only thing we can do is to look back. All of us, every single one of us has a game library. And I think, what if, just what if, all of us said, 2024, forget it. I'm not buying a darn thing. I'm not. I'm going to get my hands on whatever, Steam Deck or something like that if that's what you fancy. And I'm going to play my library. I have hundreds of games on my PlayStation. I'm only going to play those. I would say, can you play those without having the online service? Because if you can, I would suggest maybe doing that. Or, hear me out, if some of those games are on the online service, but you can get them over to PC and save the $9.99 a month, which ends up being $120 a year, or maybe the $60, whatever, would that one or two games you play online that require online service be cheaper to buy one time on PC and use it on PC? I think now is the time. If there's any war between PC and console, it's not the hardware war. It is the wallet war. This has nothing to do with what hardware is better, because it's negligible. A Series X and a PlayStation 5 can go toe-to-toe with the same priced PC, and they're just more user-friendly. Okay, it is what it is. It just is what it is. I'm going to say it's more user-friendly to use a PlayStation or Xbox. You're probably not going to find something that is easy and as well, I guess, performing for $500. I don't know exactly. I'm going to say probably, not definitely. Maybe in the used market, but I'm not going to go down this road. What I'm trying to say is this. The console versus PC war has nothing to do with hardware. It's all about you, your information, and your money. That's all it is. And I think the answer, the key, honestly, as crazy as it sounds to say, is getting a Steam Deck. For me, it has unlocked the ability, I mean, also a Switch, but not as important. It has unlocked the ability for me to say, you know what, Company X, Company P, or S, Sony, see ya. Bye. That's it. Look back, ladies and gentlemen. Look back. Play your library. Save your money. And most of all, let's show these companies that this kind of behavior is not acceptable. That we don't need the games that they're providing us as much as they think that we need them. That we do not need these subscription services. What we need is complete titles delivered on day one and not paying $1 extra for early access. My kid's waking up from his nap. I'm sweating bullets, and I don't need this cup of coffee. So I'm out. Sora, thanks for hanging out today. The room's alive, and so am I. Happy gaming.